Hey there, welcome back to my channel. I'm Hoshiko and today I'm going to be doing something different than everything I've done before. I'm going to be doing some DIYs with berets. I own, I think, about almost 10 berets now, and I thought it'd be fun to do kind of a DIY decoration lesson, kind of spruce up some berets, make them fun and make some fall ready. So my inspiration actually came to me for this beret that I will show you how to do later. And it's this one right here. So these military buttons actually came from a jacket I had a while ago. I no longer have the jacket. I saved them so I can use them on some article of clothing in the future. I decided why not now and kind of make some fancy berets, kind of make them my own and put my individual creative touch on them. So I'll be showing you how to do this beret DIY and two other ones. Don't worry, you don't need to be super artistic to do them. They're not too complicated, but at the same time, they'll give you your own personal flair for whatever you're wearing. You don't have to copy exactly the materials that I have here. What I'm using are just things that I personally like. If you want to substitute the buttons for another kind of button or the ribbon for some other kind of ribbon, feel free. But I hope you get some inspiration from this video. You tap into your creative side and you do something fun. So even if you don't feel like doing a DIY or being creative, you can just watch me poke myself and just in general make a fool out of myself. And at the very end of this video, stay tuned because I'll do a look with all three of the berets on so you can see what they look like. So when I'm done, I'm not gonna put them on. You'll see it at the very end when I style all three of them. All right, let's get to the video. The first DIY I'm going to do is on this teal beret. And here's a close-up of the military buttons that I plan on using. I think they look super cool, classy, old school design, but feel free to use any buttons that you have. And then in addition to the buttons and the hat, you want to have scissors, thread, and a needle. So let's get started. It's actually easier to flip the beret and work on it from its underside, but just before that, make sure you grab a pen that ideally matches the color of the beret or is washable so you can mark exactly where you want to sew the buttons. So I'm marking exactly where I want the buttons to sit, and I'm putting the buttons on top of where I made the marks just to make sure that that's how I want to place them in the end. Then next you want to get your needle and thread. So pull the thread through the needle and create a few knots at the bottom, so once you thread it through the hat to hold the button in place, it doesn't go through the hat. And once the needle goes through the hat, put the button on top so you can just easily thread it through and hold it in place. And so from now on, I'm just going to speed up and show you how I thread each of the buttons. It's all really similar, just go in and out with the thread multiple times. And once you're done, make sure your needle is on the underside and then go through the threads in the underside a few times, knot it so that the thread doesn't come loose and come off. As you finish sewing each button, just make sure to cut off the excess on the back of the beret so that it's easier to thread the rest of the buttons and they don't end up tangled in each other. So yeah, this is pretty simple. You can even do this while watching TV or just spending time with friends. This would be a fun kind of crafty activity to do. And here's the finished beret. Be a great complement to cool toned outfits, and the military buttons will add edge to any feminine ensembles in the winter time. Second, we're going to take this brown beret. We're going to add some lacy, ribbony tails. You're going to need the beret, of course, the ribbon, scissors, trusty needle, and thread. So I pre-cut the lacy ribbon that I'm using. Here's the spool that it came from. Feel free to use whatever ribbon you want and cut to the length that you desire. For the tails, for me, go about as long as the small of my back for reference. You want to make sure that you place the ribbons in the position that you want them to fall from the beret. I recommend that you flip the beret inside out and find the edge that you want to sew the ribbons onto. Pin them or mark it with a pen. So funny story, you'll see that the ribbon is actually already sewed onto the beret. I actually did not hit record and completely finish sewing the ribbon onto the beret. So I'll just follow the path that I took. Again, I don't think it's an issue to reinforce the area where the hat needs to hold on to the ribbon so it doesn't fall out. To arrive to the other end of the ribbon, bring the needle and thread in and out a few times and then knot it a few times. You have your DIY beret ready. This is such a cute beret to wear with solid warm colors, and I think that the lacy ribbons give it kind of an old-fashioned sweet Lolita look. On to the third and final beret that we will DIY, and also the most challenging. But don't be afraid, I know you can do it. You're going to need the beret, the needle and thread, scissors, and a pen. We are going to be sewing star shapes all over the beret in different sizes, so take your pen and outline the stars to make sure that they end up being a star shape and that you do have different sizes just to make it a little more interesting and not uniform. I'm going for a little bit of a scrappy look with this one. I don't want it to come out too pristine, just so it can have some character. We're going to be filling out the shape of each star outline that you created, so start at any outline and pull the thread through. Okay, hold up. So you'll see that the light has completely changed as well as my outfit. So I actually had to scrap my initial idea of filling in the star outlines I had drawn because it was not working out at all. So instead, I've actually cut out from an iridescent piece of fabric the star shapes of the outlines that I drew. You can use whatever fabric you want. I thought the iridescent fabric matched perfectly against the dark purple color as it looked like stars against the sky. So we're taking a different direction here. We're still going to be sewing stars into the beret, but just not using thread, using fabric instead. Cut out the star shapes a little bigger than the outlines that you drew in pen on the beret so that the fabric covers the lines in the end. Take one of the star fabric pieces and overlay it on top of one of the outlines that you drew on, and then take the needle and thread and start from the bottom, thread in and out, and try to make the lines as thin as possible. A good tip too is to make sure that your thread matches the fabric as close as possible so that in the end the thread doesn't show against the fabric. I have about 12 pieces that I need to sew on, so this does take some time, but the end result is totally worth it. Just continue to bring the needle in and out for each piece and cut out any excess thread once you're done so they don't get in the way. Try to sew as close to the edge of the fabric as possible. For me, the fabric actually started separating when I sewed too close to the edge. I had to sew closer. Too big of a deal because I'm not going for that perfect look. I do want it to look a little bit rough. Whew, and we made it to the end. I think this beret looks so magical and will be such a nice accessory wearing any blacks, grays, whites, any of those monochromatic colors because it's such a fun starry pop to the outfit. And now that we're done with all the DIYs, let me show you how I style everything. Let's go.